Hello, welcome to the Level 20 Lounge for Level 20 Sportsline. We've got a great show for you tonight. We have two exceptionally beautiful young ladies as guests. We've got a lot of sports to talk about, maybe some non-sports to talk about. I'm Mike Migliori. This is Smoking Jim Frazier, Chip Painter, and Al Levine, the Talking Machine. As always, we will start off with What's on Your Mind. Al, what's on your mind?
Pitchers of Coors Light for $4.95. That's what's on my mind. Anybody watching YouTube, come back in a couple weeks. You can get pitchers for $4.95. If not, see Colin there. He told me to say that. And the $7 burger and fries, they're pretty good too. And we got a lot of people that enjoy the food and drinks. Matter of fact, the other thing, one of my deli guys up at Shop and Save was here for a while, but his girlfriend got sick, so they had to leave. So they'll watch the show when it gets put up the next day or so. What's on my mind is 11-5 Steelers, like I predicted earlier. Now there's hope. Hope's alive. She's not just in New Jersey, but they could go 11-5, folks. Just think about that. Nobody gave the Steelers a chance. Chip and I, while we had our talk marathon on last week's Pittsburgh Sportsline, both of us at the end, with the Prophet and myself, Steelers in a win. We didn't know how they would do it. We didn't know why they would do it. But the bookies are calling us up now, 8.5 points. What are you guys doing in Pittsburgh? You crushed us. They all went that way because we all know how Steeler fans are. And it's always nice with a win, but what I'm happier to see is somebody who really stunk up the place last week come back and win like Charlie Batch. He showed the character, Pittsburgh type of guy, come back. Sure, he was a little emotional at the end, but he should have been. Look what he did. And did he make a few bad passes? Oh, definitely. There's a guy 38 years old on Wednesday out there getting hit. He was throwing that ball 50 yards on a nice line. A few guys dropped it a few times. He overthrew that one in the end zone for Mike Wallace, and it was perfect right in that sound guy's little dish there. That was awesome in itself. What's the odds that you could hit that? Only a Pittsburgh guy. I think in Vegas they had some nice odds on that. But what's on my mind also is look at that Steeler line. I don't even know who that Beecham is. And he did a pretty good job playing there. And the Steeler line in general, they kept Batch pretty free. One real sack was, I think, contributed by the line. The other one, Charlie even admitted he held on to the ball. So it was a great game for the Steelers. It got us schizophrenic fans. We all think Super Bowl now. We also think the division is a chance for us. Will that happen? I don't think so, but I'd rather be optimistic than pessimistic. And for those people that are 8-8 and think the team's going 8-8, I don't think so. That's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Al. Chip, what's on your mind?
What's on my mind? Thank you, Michael. What's on my mind is if you follow the world of sports and the commissioners of each of the professional major sports, I see a level of incompetence and idiocy that just encompasses all of the sports. Roger Goodell's effort to manage and adjudicate the NFL has failed miserably. And once again, Nottingham Sue is now under investigation again for blindsiding one of the Colts offensive linemen during an interception return. And after he knocked the guy senseless and he was laying on the ground concussed, he and several of his teammates laughed and joked about him and mocked him. So there's no flag thrown, but now we're going to find out what the Lord God Goodell will do about that. But what really upset me this past weekend was last Thursday night, Greg Popovich, the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, sent all of his star players home a day early before a nationally televised game against the Miami Heat. And David Stern, who I will refer to as Howard Stern because he's about that much of a joke as a commissioner, got on the air prior to the game and apologized to all the fans and how that sanctions were going to come down against the Spurs for not playing their stars. Well, you know, the game was a very competitive game, and at the end of the game, the difference in the score was 3 points, and San Antonio lost. But at what point does the commissioner of the league dictate to a coach who should play and who should not play? They were on an extended road trip. They played 4 games in 6 nights, and you know, the coach decided he was going to send his 3 aging stars home to rest before they played the #1 team in the league. Saturday night so that they would have a better chance against them. And David Stern took it upon himself to define the organization for that. And I don't understand why. And, at what point do the coaches no longer have control over who plays on their team? When's that going to be the commissioner's decision? But that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Chip. Smoking Jim.
Hey, thanks, Magic Mike. First of all, like to acknowledge a beautiful model that's here that's going to be part of our guest tonight, the beautiful India. Please put your hands together for India. And I only have 2 words. Heath Miller! I tell you what, if Heath Miller ain't the best tight end in football, I've never seen him. The guy is 6'5", 260 pounds, all muscle. He can run, catch, block, and he can catch touchdown passes. Listen, Heath Miller's the MVP of the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, and I tell you what, he should go to the Pro Bowl, and after the season, the Roonies need to make him the highest paid receiver on their team. And I tell you what, I got to give the Steelers credit. They played like champions. They played like the heart of champions yesterday. I personally underestimated the impact that Bill Cowher's players still has on this football team. Heath Miller, Bill Cowher guy, Big Ben, Charlie Batch, Willie Colon, the Big Snack, Casey Hampton, Brett Kiesel, James Harrison, Larry Slowerfoot, Ike Taylor, Ryan Clark, and my main man, Troy Polamalu. I tell you what, it's Christmas time coming up, and Bill Cowher is the gift that keeps on giving.
Hey, I have one question. I'm sorry, but I heard the same thing, only it was Brittle Brothers with everything. Brittle Brothers. Now, I don't even know what that means. And he was talking about that.
He's just talking about their favorite snack.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim. Well, last week, Michael Vick complained to the Philadelphia media that the Philadelphia Eagles were using his concussion as an excuse to start Nick Foles. Well, let me ask you something, you dog-murdering scumbag. Is it possible that maybe the reason that they started Nick Foles is that your record was garbage, you suck, you can't throw anymore, you can't run anymore, and you're old enough to be a Steelers backup quarterback? Maybe you're just not that good anymore, Mike. Maybe you're not going to have a job next year. All right, you shouldn't be back in jail where you belong. Okay, maybe you get out, maybe you kill a few more dogs, go back to jail. I think that's where you're headed. But you know what? You go ahead and complain to the Philadelphia media because they're not that smart either. Well, Jim, you mentioned her before. It's time to bring up our first guest. Why don't you go in and introduce your guest?
Well, I tell you what, from the first time I met this young lady, I thought she had the perfect height, the perfect look, the perfect build, and the perfect personality to be an outstanding model. And then she told me that she also aspires to be an actress. And I'm sitting right here with the greatest photographer in the United States and a movie producer. I tell you what, some people only need one name, and she only needs one name. Please bring her up, India.
Hi, India.
Hello.
Well, Jim built up pretty good. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you have going on?
My name is India. I started off with Champions with Bill Neal, and that's
We're
how
going to let you talk anyway.
Huh? And I started, and then I got up with Jim, and now I'm here.
So how's it working with Jim?
It's good.
Does he have an idea?
Yeah, he has an idea. He has a game plan. He has a game plan.
All right, so what have you been doing?
Right now, I am about to start school for medical assisting. I also work at a tattoo shop, and I have 3 kids, and I'm married.
So how many tattoos do you have?
I have 6.
6?
I have 6,
well,
with more on the way.
I'm sure if you work at a tattoo shop, I'm sure there are plenty on the way.
Yeah.
Jim, why don't you...
Well, One thing is, I tell you what, she has an interesting story. You guys are going to have to get the book. A lot of people don't realize I'm a writer. I'm the only writer on the planet that have written more books than I've ever read. And I'm in the process
Is that
of
one?
That could be one.
Is that
I'm in the
one? He
process.
did one, folks. And he's not done.
And Tommy.
We're still going. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to steal that.
I'm in the process now of writing her book. It's going to be very interesting. And I tell you what, she is just somebody that has the energy, very photogenic. We've done a few photo shoots for her. And I tell you what, I couldn't be more excited about the opportunity to team her up with Mike Migliore. And there's nobody on this planet I respect more than Mike Migliore.
You must not respect many people. Thanks, Jim. Before we get back to India, what book have you ever read? Just one. James Comic strip.
Blessed.
Bubblegum wrapper.
Hold it. Blessed or cursed.
Yeah, bless the curse. I read that. I read Renko's book.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
He read the Cliff Notes. Anybody know Cliff Notes out there? He read the Cliff Notes. I knew India knew that.
I do.
And he gave the condensed
And thanks to
version of
Stephanie,
Cliff
I'm going to start
Notes.
reading some James Patterson pretty soon. Alex Cross.
Still,
pretty
that's like
soon.
3 weeks in a row now.
Pretty soon.
I'm not counting.
Well, India, what did you do for Champions?
I helped with the YWCA, helping young kids to, reach for the stars and to know that there's more out there than just anything that they're doing. And I have done photo shoots. I've done car cruises with old school cars. I've done car washes as well.
Who have you done photo shoots with?
Bill Neal and his photographer was Bob. Don't remember his last name.
Bob Burt.
Short, white dude
Bob
with
Burke.
glasses.
Bob
Yeah,
Burke,
him.
I think.
Terrible picture, stuff like that. I understand. Yeah, I've seen.
I got a CD that was very blurry
I've
from
seen
him,
it.
and I wasn't really happy.
Were you in any films or any shows?
We was going to
No.
escalate her to Kenny O. That was going to be her next photographer.
Well, you know what?
Kenny's
You say
the
Ken
best.
Ogilvy, Bob Burt, and Bill Boyce, and you get better photography in a cave, on cave drawings down at the museum. These guys are garbage. They can't get you in focus. They certainly can't get you exposed properly. They suck. You come shoot with me.
I'm gonna actually take you up on that
Do
too.
that.
Here we go, folks. They're signing a contract right after this show.
Not that I have an opinion on their stuff or anything like that. But. So, well, okay. What do you have coming up in the future aside from a great photo shoot with me?
As Jim was talking about a book,
A book?
possibly some Stiller interactions.
Some who?
Stiller interactions.
That's too technical. Can you explain that to us? Explain it, please.
Photos with some of the Stillers.
Ah.
I actually was part of Charlie Batch's basketball camp. I was actually a coach, but I was a pregnant coach. I was a pregnant coach.
Were you the center?
Yeah, I was. For some reason, I was the mean one though. They didn't like me very much. I was pregnant and mean.
That might have been the hormonal issues.
It probably was, but
You seem so nice.
I was a coach for 2 years for his basketball thing, and I also went to the Stiller training camp.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming up here, and we hope to see you again.
Of course.
And I certainly hope to see you again.
You will.
All right. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Good job, India.
Good luck on the book.
I will. Thank you.
Speaking of Steeler interactions, well, Al already gave us a soliloquy on the game, but I think there's a whole lot more to be said about it. First off, Pittsburgh, let me tell you something. San Francisco might talk about their quarterback controversy and other teams about their quarterback controversy. There should be no controversy in Pittsburgh. Charlie Batch is the only Steeler quarterback that has the skill set to beat the Baltimore Ravens. He should be made the starting quarterback for the rest of the year and the playoffs. The Steelers should trade Ben Roethlisberger, trade up to get a running back in the draft, and they should get a #1 pick. They should take another quarterback to back up Charlie Batch and prepare to take over. Charlie Batch, again, is the only Steeler quarterback with the skill set to beat the Baltimore Ravens. Keep him in there.
I disagree 100%. This is a guy who's not a Steeler fan. He'll tell you he's not a Steeler fan. I'm not a Big Ben fan because I don't care what kind of character they have. They aren't my heroes. These sports guys aren't our heroes. Charlie Batch, even at his greatest time right now after beating Baltimore, he doesn't want to start the last 4 games. There's no way. He knows our best chance, like Smoking Jim will be up here in a second or two, about the greatest quarterback in Pittsburgh history that hasn't won 4 Super Bowls.
Is that it?
Yeah.
That was the end?
Yeah, well, anybody that wants to see the Steelers lose is going to say what you just did. We go through this all the time.
I'm not a Steeler fan at all.
Bingo!
So it's an unbiased opinion.
It's not honest.
Charlie Batch is absolutely. In fact, look around the room. How many Ben Roethlisberger's jerseys do you see? None. In fact, how many Steelers shirts? Every Steelers shirt in the room right now is a Charlie Batch shirt. 100%. 100%. Right there. Okay?
Jersey.
Everybody, but the other end of the table, everybody knows Charlie Batch is the only Steeler quarterback that can beat the Ravens. Has any other Steeler quarterback beat the Ravens this year?
No.
That's right.
Well, those are facts, but
That's facts. Facts are, that's what you need.
and that isn't how they'll play the game of football, as you know, because you're very sardonic. You have this humor here that people enjoy that. So you're just playing to the crowd. The reality is Charlie Batch will not start the rest of the games. The other reality, they're not going to trade Big Ben. He's here. He has a baby. He's straightened out. People want to give him a second or third chance, fourth chance. Hey, that's what's going to happen.
I didn't say
this
the
makes
Steelers
for good
organization was
entertainment.
smart. I just said what they should do. I didn't say they were smart enough to do it.
But, the key to the Steelers' victory yesterday and the key to the Steelers' resurgence, since their 2-3 start has been the play of the defense. And at the beginning of the year, the defense was losing games to like Oakland and to Tennessee. They had no business losing, but once everybody learned what their roles were, some of these younger players stepped up. The Steelers' secondary is one of their strongest suits right now. The defensive line is starting to round itself out, but their pass defense, I'd put it up against anybody this year, and that's the reason why they're winning. Other teams just aren't putting up points. The 2 of the Ravens' touchdowns yesterday were a result of turnovers, and if the Steelers could, keep out of the turnover situation altogether, nobody's scoring on them.
Well,
Number one in pass defense, too.
One thing I can say, I had the pleasure of interacting with Charlie Batch over the years. We did some things down Mountaineer together, and about 4 or 5 years ago, his story kind of touched me. We co-emceed an event at the Hilton Hotel, and Charlie Batch shared a story that was riveting. He said that when he was a junior in college, he said his sister, who was sitting at a bus stop at the time, was hit accidentally in a drive-by shooting. His sister was about 16 years old, and she was killed. Charlie Batch was raised with just a single parent, just his mom, and he had to make a decision at that time whether to come home and help his mother out, who was struggling financially, or do everything he could in his last 2 years of college and make it to the National Football League and create a lifestyle for his mom. And that's what he did. And I tell you what, his story, if you guys ever get a chance to hear Charlie Batch's story, it's nothing pretentious about him. He's a good guy. He'll be 38 years old. And I tell you what, I know one of the happiest things that Charlie Batch has ever done in his entire NFL career was to be able to back up Big Ben Roethlisberger. I tell you what, I know he takes a lot of pride in that. Got a lot of Super Bowl rings because of it.
How many?
1.
2.
That's not a lot.
But his story is a heck of a story. I was at the Ozana house earlier in the year.
You know more about black people than anybody I know.
Well, anyhow, with his story was a surprise because I had heard there was some story like that, but there were actually people crying at that.
I thought you had to be a Muslim to be at the Hosanna house.
They let me in, and you're welcome to come with me next year. I'll invite you there if you can't get in the front door. If you can't get in I like them too, but if you can't get in the front door, we'll go in the back door because that's the way I had to go in that day, but no problem. It is a great story, and that's a guy that can be a hero for us average Joes that, need somebody to look up to, he's out there doing it in the community. He's having an event tomorrow with United Way where they're getting toys for the kids that he's been doing for 6 years. So you might want to check that out too. Just go online and look for the Batch Foundation and what they're doing tomorrow.
Okay. Well,
that?
let's not lose sight of another key to the Steelers' victory yesterday is the offensive line actually protected the passer last night. Charlie Batch was able to complete a lot of throws because he wasn't picking himself up off the ground. They made some changes in the offensive line. They started a rookie who we never heard of before, and I'm sure the Ravens never heard of him either, but I think they might know who he is now. They moved Pouncey from center to guard, and that made a big difference. They moved Doug Legursky, kept him at center, and for the time being, I think they've made an upgrade in the offensive line so they can get some healthy bodies back.
Due to technical difficulties in the house.
Yeah, I didn't know
Thanks, Chip.
I didn't know there was a floor show.
That's what makes it interesting for a live show here, Jim.
Again, well, it's not a live show. It's tape.
Well, live for us.
I'm
alive. I'm not dead yet.
Again, like I said, the Steelers have the key to victory, the key to get into the playoffs and go all the way through the playoffs. And number 16, Charlie Batch. If they're smart enough to stick with him, I can see great things for the Steelers. If they go back to the same old drab old routine that they've been using all year, well, they probably won't even make the playoffs. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if they're smart. I guarantee you Chuck Noll would stick with Charlie Batch. Greatest coach in the entire NFL.
I agree.
And speaking of the NFL, let's get someone maybe a little bit more serious. One of the Kansas City Chiefs killed the mother of his child, took the cowardly way out, killed himself. A lot of your local sports talk personalities insisted that the Kansas City Chiefs should not play this football game because of that. My personal opinion, if I owned a business, I would not let a scumbag like that interfere with my business. I would not give him any kind of notice whatsoever. It's a shame what happened to the young lady. It's a shame for her family. I would not have any NFL player going out there wearing a black armband or wearing this piece of garbage's number on his hat. The guy's a murderer, and he's a scumbag, and he deserved what he gave to himself, basically. But that said, I would not have canceled that game. I would not, if I was the NFL, canceled a single game, nor the entire weekend over something like that. People die all the time. People die under tragic circumstances all the time. This just happened to be a football player, but what about the people in every other NFL city who are murdered or whatever? You don't cancel the show or the game because of them. You just go ahead and go on and continue on as normal. That's my opinion on it, guys. What do you think?
I have a tendency to agree with you in your opinion, Mike. I think that the game, yes, it should have been played. The players on the team had, voted twice, and they decided unanimously that they were going to play the game. But, it was a very tragic event, because a young child is now left motherless and fatherless, and, he's going to be raised without parents. But one of the things that disturbed me even more than the incident itself was Bob Costas getting on the air last night at the halftime show and starting to turn a sporting event into a platform to talk about gun control laws. And I think that that's totally not the place for it. We talk sports and, gun control issues, those are to be argued another time, another place. I think it was totally inappropriate on his part, and, it just shouldn't have been done.
Well, you're absolutely there. First of all, Bob Costas is a moron. He wouldn't know his own name if it was on a teleprompter. He's got no business talking about that kind of stuff, in that venue.
Well, and then, my thought is that guns don't kill people. People kill people, and, the device he used happened to be a gun, but you're not going to ban guns, and you're not going to stop people from killing one another.
Well, I gotta agree with you there, and one of the things that happens here, I may not speak the same way Mike does about this, but it's so egregious for a person to kill the mother of his child. A 3-month-old baby now has both parents dead, that truly is a nightmare. The guy deserves no respect. If his teammates were crying for him, they should have been crying out of sorrow for the young child there, this girl that's going to be parentless. And it's truly a terrible thing. There's no way, businesses don't stop, like most people say. They might, out of respect to somebody that's a nice person, put an armband on or have some respect or a moment of silence. We've all done that. But something like this does not deserve it. The guy, he did take the cowardly way out. And I'll tell you another thing about gun control. When you take all the guns away from the average people, it's against our Constitution the way it is now, if you want to talk a little bit just with American history. And American football is part of our history, and it is a violent sport. But to take guns away means all the criminals would have the guns. We have shootings right now on playgrounds. You guys see it and read it in the news. What are you going to do, take the guns away from the people in the stands that have a permit? These criminals will still do that. That's the problem we have. And I don't mean to get philosophical about this or be opinionated, but that's the truth. Those are the facts there. Take the guns away from everybody and you have utter chaos here.
I'll tell you what, I watched Javon play in college at the University of Maine. Real good player. Watched him a few weeks ago play here against the Steelers, and he was a starting linebacker. But the guy that I feel most sorry about, other than the family, is Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles, the star running back at Kansas City, his wife introduced Javon to her cousin that he ended up shooting 9 times. And I tell you what, I really don't understand what could cause somebody to do that. Then he drove into Arrowhead's parking lot, talked to the general manager and the head coach, and then blew his head off in front of them.
Right.
And so I don't even know how. I tell you what, Romeo did a great job able to coach after you watching somebody blow their own brains out the day before. But Kansas City won. Brady played a good game, and and life goes on. But my heart and prayers go out to that family, obviously. 22-year-old girl with a 3-month-old daughter.
Romeo Crennel, you're right, did an amazing job yesterday coaching. He is a very good football coach. He saddled with a very bad team, and he came from a previously not so good team, but he's an outstanding coach. Another thing that I think that you should sort of recognize, take into consideration, is the Kansas City Chiefs were a very classy organization. What they did was they started out the beginning of the game, before the game, with a moment of silence, not for the guy that killed himself or for the victim of that shooting, but a moment of silence for all victims of domestic abuse, which was I think a very good gesture. They felt they had to do something, and instead of directing it towards one person, whether it's the right person or the wrong person, they made a pretty much a blanket statement with that. I just think they handled it very well.
I agree with you. The Hunts have always run a class organization, and yes, dedicating that moment of silence to all victims of domestic abuse was very appropriate.
Anything else?
Well, you know what? The ballots are out for this year for the Baseball's Hall of Fame, and there's some very interesting candidates that we'll find out on January 9th if they get voted in or not. This is the first year of eligibility for Barry Bonds, for Roger Clemens, for Sammy Sosa, and these are 3 of the biggest players in the Balco steroid fiasco. And what do you think the chances are of these players actually making it into the Hall?
Well, we talked about this a little bit once before. I absolutely think that Barry Bonds will get voted in. Again, there's no reason in the world that sports writers should be voting for this. I believe it should be players who are already enshrined in the Hall of Fame to vote on who joins them. But since it's not, and it is the sports writers, or the baseball writers of America that are going to vote on this, I believe that Barry Bonds will be voted in, even though he has the same steroid problems that Mark McGwire and Palmeiro and Clemens and Sosa have. I believe that Bonds will get voted in, and once he's in, that will open up the door for the rest of these guys.
Well, I'm going to make I guess this isn't a bold prediction, but I bet you any one of the 3 of them don't even get 20% of the required votes on their first ballot. Wow. You look at what happened with McGwire, and he was the first one of the eligible ones. But, you know, one thing that Mark McGuire has done since, because he lied about it for years and years and years, and then he finally came clean, you know, and he came out and admitted publicly that, you know what I did, and what I did was wrong, okay? And, you know, he's admitted the fact that he did do it, and he knew that it was wrong, and he went ahead and did it anyhow. And, you know, you got somebody like Bonds, he reminds me of Lance Armstrong. You know,
they're on the same team, Chip. Come on.
He attacks anybody that has any kind of accusation against him, and I think that just damages his chances more than his arrogance than if he would be a little bit more contrite.
The thing that people pass up on Barry Bonds is that he actually admitted that he did steroids. He admitted he did it. He just claimed that he did not know what it was when he did it. You know, so regardless, I mean, if the reason you don't vote for somebody that was doing steroids is because it was illegal, then maybe you pass on Barry Bonds. But if the reason you don't do it is because the drugs or the steroids made them better, well then, whether you knew it or not, if you did steroids, even if you thought they were chocolate cupcakes, they still give you the same effect that steroids give you. Doesn't matter if you knew what they were or not.
So you know,
his performance would have been enhanced if that's what it does.
Well, and here's what I truly believe, because I did a lot of reading about the subject with all the different information that was out there when there was all these trials. And you know, one of the things, you know, personally for myself, the home run king in baseball is Hank Aaron, and it will be until somebody breaks his record. I don't believe Barry Bonds has, because you know, a lot of the balls that went out of ballparks while he was juicing, had he not been juicing, those balls may have only made it to the warning track. And I'm thinking that he's got at least 150 less home runs if he doesn't juice than he did, you know? Because I tell you the thing about Barry Bonds, he's probably one of the best baseball players that I've seen play in my lifetime. He didn't need to use steroids, you know, to make himself better. He would have still had a Hall of Fame career, been one of the best ball players that we ever saw. I don't think he would have ever hit 760 home runs, but, you know, which kind of amazes me. He was that good. Like, why do you have to be better when you're already the best?
Chip, it's their ego, and that's what did him in. Here's the guy, he didn't do anything illegal in baseball. If you want to talk facts, it's just illegal in America to take steroids that are prescription drug steroids. So should the baseball writers put them in? Barry Bonds, yes. Will he get in on the first ballot? No. That's the problem you have here, because put it like this, he had no respect from any of these sports writers, just the way he treated people. But he was a great athlete. He should be in there on the first ballot. There's no doubt about it. And then the others, they'll go in time. Whether they deserve it or not, I don't know. But for a couple years, they brought the sport of baseball back from bankruptcy, you might as well say. So they should get some publicity for that.
Well, I've been boycotting Baseball Hall of Fame ever since they kept my main man Pete Rose out. Charlie Hustle's the greatest baseball player to ever play the game. He played it the right way, 4,000 hits. Nobody will ever break that record. And until Pete Rose is in the Hall of Fame, I'm not endorsing baseball's Hall of Fame at all.
Well,
I got to agree with Smoking Jim.
Let's not lose sight of the fact that Pete Rose accepted a lifetime ban from baseball. Okay? Yes, he did. Okay, you know, he agreed to that, and you know, that's his own fault that he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Well, that was a lot of politics with that, with Fay Vincent and all the games they were playing there. If you want to go back, Shoeless Joe Jackson should be in there. Come on now. He should go in with the old timers. If you're listening to me, you sports writers, you already voted for the old timers. They already put 3 of them in, but Shoeless Joe Jackson should be in there. There's a guy who taught most of the people how to swing a bat. So put him in, put Pete Rose in, put the steroid guys. It was only illegal in America, not in baseball. Come on, guys.
Put Shoeless Joe right next to Satchel Paige.
Shoeless Joe Jackson's a nice story, but he doesn't have Hall of Fame numbers.
Yeah, actually, if
he
you
does.
Look at his career batting
Hall of
average
Fame.
is 348.
Yes, he does.
He doesn't have as long a career, a long enough career.
He had
to
a
be
long
in.
career.
He just
Well,
why not put Tony Conigliaro in? He has a great career too for 3 years.
Yeah.
Shoeless Joe Jackson didn't just play 3 years.
Yeah,
I'll get you the stats next
after you
week.
do that, I'll be here next week. I'll wait for you.
Because I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be here.
That's exactly.
Oh,
right.
he didn't fight on it. He's still a smart guy.
So
Listen,
anyway,
what a smart guy.
really, who cares about Shoeless Joe
I do.
Jackson or Barry Bonds or Pete Rose when we've got Susan Fansali coming up? Susan's an absolutely beautiful young
She
lady.
fell asleep. Wake up now.
yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi. We met Susan at auditions. We had some auditions for our upcoming films, Fun and Arcana, and let Susan read for both. She did an absolutely perfect job. Would love to get her involved with some of our films. Love to take some pictures someday. But Susan's very successful in her modeling and acting. And Susan, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing?
Lately, I've been doing a lot of modeling for different photographers: Robert Covington, Sasha Danielle, Douglas Chemlin. So I work with Terry Briselli at TV Talent and Casting. I'm one of her interns. I do the KDK Trend Report, which is on Tuesday mornings at
Excellent.
9. So,
We'll have to stay tuned.
yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Okay, what else? You've done some, well, I know you've auditioned for some local commercials. Have you been involved in any?
I was in the S&T Bank commercial with Jerome Bettis. So,
Okay.
Boy, everybody was.
yeah, I know, exactly.
You know what? We've interviewed half the community in Pittsburgh that are models.
Okay, and what do you have coming up?
Coming up, I will be in an upcoming issue of Gladys magazine.
Okay.
So I'll be one of the Gladys girls for that magazine. Pretty excited about it.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
Now,
you.
what was that shoot like?
It was a lot of fun. It was we had to keep it all hush hush till it comes out, but it was pretty neat. So it was definitely different. It was out of the ordinary.
Can you
so.
tell us where you did it?
No, I'm not allowed.
Oh, no.
Signed to secrecy.
Can you
Nice.
tell us when that magazine will be available?
Yeah, it'll be on the stands. It'll be on magazine stands in January.
I wanted that for Christmas.
Get your gift certificate.
Yeah, we'll get you a gift certificate, then
you.
we can give it to you.
Quick,
I love your
thank you.
sound effects, so I have to get you something.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
He's not even worn
How
out.
tall are you?
I'm 5'8". Yes, and then heels, I'm the Amazon woman. No, I'm just kidding.
6'3".
Yeah, 6'3" in heels, it's okay.
All right. Well, what would you like to do in the future?
In the future, I'm currently a junior in college, so would like to finish my bachelor's degree, go on for my master's in marketing, and see where life takes me from there.
Okay.
So
Okay, where do you go to school?
I go to California University of Pennsylvania.
Woo!
Apparently, I have a vote on my
The
side.
fighting
I have a little-
Balkans! The fighting Balkans!
Do they have a football team?
Why did
Yes,
you
they
have
do.
to say that?
I know. I was like, whoo. Hello.
You
There
killed
went
it.
my on there.
Are you
Softball.
talking down there now?
He hit that one
Yeah, I
out
was
of
like,
the
I
park.
can't hear. Okay.
Speak up a little bit now.
Get our
Sit next
sound
to
man.
He's deaf now.
Where'd you go to high school?
Thomas Jefferson.
Won't hold
TJ.
that against you.
Everyone does, so it's okay.
Jim G and Sandy?
One of my really good friends. Yes. Yes.
Smokey Jim knows them all.
Well, so you do know everybody. Start
I
naming
lo-
people
I-
so you don't know.
I love football.
Yeah, you can name as many people as you want. If he doesn't know, he'll still say yeah. Well, how about any acting coming up?
Not any acting coming up recently. I'm waiting for more auditions to come out and see what happens. I did a ghost encounter with Anthony Coliano in the past, so something like that'd be pretty cool. I was scared, walking through there with a flashlight, like somebody comes out at me, I'm gonna die. But that's whatever.
Only in film now.
Yeah, exactly. Only in film. So
Well, no, Anthony bills those as like real paranormal activity
is it?
kind of things. So
Yeah,
it's
it
the real
was-
deal.
Oh, then it could be real. that you died.
until I stole everyone's flashlights and I ran away and left them in the dark building, I'm so nice. That was the outtakes for you.
Well, I'm glad you could make the show since you hit out like that. What about S&T Bank?
What about
Any
it?
more commercials with them?
Hopefully, I'd like to meet Jerome Bettis again. He was really nice, and his food, the
Bettis's.
Bettis grill was amazing. So
Food
good.
down there is good.
I tell you what, I think I'm gonna open up an account tomorrow at S&T Bank.
Why? Why smoking, Jim? Why?
No, Jerome wasn't much of a running back. He does make a good commercial. Sorry, Steph. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
If
thank
anything
you
else
guys
you'd
for
like to tell us
having me.
about yourself, we'd love to hear it.
Pleasure to
Love
meet
to have
you.
you back.
Yeah, thank
All
you
right.
guys.
Well,
Have a good day.
And
Thank
good luck
for
to you in your
coming. Thank
career.
you very much.
I'll outstanding talent, very talented Larry.
University of Pittsburgh going to a bowl.
Yes.
Off the season, just right. Going to a bowl game against Ole
C.
Miss, in some kind of bowl game somewhere, whatever,
you
with
know,
a bunch of letters in it.
I was really depressed. I was really pulling for them to go to the Beef O'Brady Bowl. But, you know, they lost. That was the big paying bowl, so they went to the BBVA Compass Bowl. That's the third year in a row that Pitt's going to this bowl game with 3 different coaches. And the last 2 times they were there, the coaches that coached the game weren't the coaches that they started the season with. So maybe now that they've got a coach that started the year with the team, coaching them for this bowl game, maybe they'll never play in it again. But that's just another thing to hang up on Tino's mantelpiece, the BVVA 3-time. He'll probably be the record setter.
Do they still have to pay to get into that bowl? That's the question I have.
The CBI.
Right? They got to pay to get into the BBXYZ
Well, I think the one year their coach was in jail, wasn't he? Oh,
Yes.
no, he didn't get the job yet. But
He was signed,
But I tell
not
you what,
delivered.
I tell you what, Pitt ought to send thank you letters, flowers to Gardner Webb, because it wasn't for that victory over Gardner Webb,
Great
Pitt be
point.
sitting at home for the holidays. So
GW.
Gardner Webb.
You got to
GW.
appreciate a team like that.
Well, they did get Skip Holtz fired this past weekend. Pitt helped to grease the skid there, you know. Down
He
at
didn't need much
USF.
help.
Yeah.
You figure if you lose that many games and you lose that badly to Pitt.
Isn't
It's
Ole
time.
Miss a team that Pitt has played in bowls like fairly often?
I don't think
No,
They have
they've never
never
played.
played.
They never played them.
There you go.
They have no
So
history.
They're renewing an old rivalry.
It's
Yeah.
just the bowl that they've been to a lot.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
got
well-
it. Got it.
Yeah, I don't know the bowl's 3 years old. And Pitt's it's half the. Jeez.
They just like them, though.
But yeah, but they get to play one more game, so you know Tino's career, he can finish another year 6-7.
He's a good stat man this year, though, Chip. You got to agree with that. You
Yeah.
got the stats.
Yeah, well the stats I look at are wins and losses.
Me too.
But I tell you what, we got to talk a little bit about it. I tell you what, maybe it's not a foregone conclusion. Alabama's a great, great team, but can they beat Notre Dame? Notre Dame's undefeated as well, although I think the best team in the country is Ohio State, but they're not eligible this year.
This year.
Well, the thing
Why is that?
Because India was doing too many tattoos for the players, I think.
She left. Where's she at?
Yeah, but,
She didn't hear that.
What I find kind of laughable is that now, well, we wait a good 6 or 7 weeks for to play the championship game, you know, which, you know, this whole college bowl system thing, it's so broken and it needs fixed. It's so ridiculous that, you know, more teams in college football go to bowl games than don't go to bowl games. You know, I just don't understand it. There's so many games that just don't mean anything. Like, I don't even see what the point is in playing them. I bet you there's a lot of schools that ends up costing them more money to go to these low-paying bowls than if they were to stay home. Because if you're in the SEC and the SEC's always got a stake in the title game, that money gets divided up between all the schools in the SEC. You know, so it just it perplexes me.
Perplexes. Well, you know what? I'll tell you, the game, Alabama-Notre Dame, may be a good game, but the game that I've been wanting to see all year is finally going to happen, Kansas State against Oregon. I think that will be the most exciting football game of the season. Can't wait to see that one.
And now we're going to have one of the players that's a finalist for the Heisman Trophy playing in that game, Colin Klein. There's actually 3 finalists this year. They've got Colin Klein, they've got Mante T.O., and they've got this kid that beat Alabama, the Texas A&M quarterback, Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Football.
What do you think the chances are of Colin Klein winning the Heisman Trophy this year?
Well, I think Colin Klein deserves the Heisman Trophy this year. If Notre Dame wins, then of course they're going to have to give the Heisman to T.O., but I believe that Colin Klein is the deserving winner of that.
Well, they announced the winner this Saturday, so I mean this is the winner's going to be announced long before the bowl games. You know, Manti Te'o would probably be the sentimental favorite because Notre Dame hasn't been relevant in 25 years. Personally, I think Colin Klein's, put up the numbers. All this kid from Texas A&M has done. Yeah, he beat #1 Alabama, but does his body of work outweigh what Colin Klein?
I'll make a prediction that's bold for you, Chipper. Johnny Football wins the Heisman Trophy, becomes the first freshman to do it. He's gained more yards than Tebow did when he won it as a sophomore.
And Cam Newton.
So he's the next in line. Smoking Jim knows that.
But the best player I've seen all year won't get invited is #1 out of West Virginia, the wide receiver. One game, they put him at tailback against Oklahoma. He ran 18 carries, 344 yards, which is a West Virginia record, and he had over 500 total yards of offense. The guy's unbelievable. He got 100 receptions this year. I think he's the most exciting player. I would love for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I'm going to recommend, being that they didn't take my T.Y. Hilton last year. That's eating up the league for Indianapolis, but I'm going to recommend that they take that kid in about the 3rd or 4th round next year. But, I agree with Magic Mike. I think the Kansas State quarterback deserves it. I don't believe in necessarily giving it to a freshman, but I think the kid from Texas A&M is going to win it.
Thanks for backing me up. You covered 2 things there, buddy. I like it.
Covering all my bases.
That's
man.
A little hedge bet there. I'm starting to learn how you operate.
What are your guys' feelings about what David Stern did to the San Antonio Spurs?
It's ridiculous.
With that game last week. I thought that was just that was laughable. Like, I don't see where he gets off. Like, how did what they did hurt the game?
It didn't hurt me because I only watched basketball the last 2 minutes.
And I only watch it during the playoffs.
I mean, the people that got pissed more than anybody are the people who are paying $160 a ticket to go see somebody like Tim Duncan or Tony Parker, and they had to suffer through watching LeBron James by himself.
It was
it didn't take away from the game. It was only a 3-point game. It was apparently a pretty good basketball game to watch. You know what? If I don't know, if I'm the head coach and I want to sit down one of my guys, I don't care what the commissioner says.
That's true.
Who cares? I mean, this is my team. This is the way I'm going to run it. I'm not going to ask the commissioner for his lineup. I don't care what he thinks. Honest to God, who cares what David Stern thinks? If I'm going to put my team out there, it's going to be the team that I put out there. Am I going to ask him what plays to run? Am I going to ask him what kind of defense to set up? No, this is my team. This is the way I'm going to handle it. And the commissioner has absolutely no reason to say anything at all. He made a joke out of himself.
I agree with you. And then where does he draw the line now? At what point does if he doesn't like the way they dress getting off the airplane, is he going to fine them for that? It's kind of ridiculous. He's trying to micromanage something that he doesn't need to be doing.
Actually, that is more of what a commissioner should be doing than what he's doing now. If the commissioner wants to set out the rule, a dress code, or how much facial hair you're allowed, or how long your hair is allowed to be, or something like that, that's one thing, because that reflects on the league or the
image,
association. But for you to get in there and say, okay, well, you need to play these players, or you need to, when is it okay to rest Tim Duncan? Okay, if it's against the Heat, you can't do it. Can you do it against, I don't know, the Clippers? Is it okay to do it against, the Wizards? You rest whoever you want against the Wizards, right?
Look what happens in the last 2 weeks in the NFL season. You got a team that's 14-0. They've got home field wrapped up. They start resting their starters. What's Goodell's supposed to do? Come down there and make you start your players so they get injured, you don't make it into the playoffs?
But see, in the NFL, they still, even though you rest the players, they still show up. Ben will show up with his arm in a sling. He don't just go home. The star players in the NFL go to the games, home and away.
And then the other thing is, what rules did they break? If you're a commissioner, you're upholding the rules. The rules weren't broken. If you're not allowed, if you have to travel with the team, like Jim's saying with the NFL, okay, maybe that's in the rules, but he never stated that was in the rules. So if they didn't break any rules, the commissioner should stay out of it. He is a joke. He has been a joke. And that's how the NBA's run.
But I tell you what, I made a lot of money this summer, and I felt bad taking advantage of some of my brothers. But I sold about 10 Steeler tickets this summer for them to go see Cam Newton play the last game, exhibition game. Cam Newton was there, but didn't take a snap. I felt bad, but that's money in the bank.
Well, you know, so far every one of the commissioners has made himself look like a complete bonehead. You got Bettman in the NHL. He doesn't have a clue. You've got Bud Selig, who's got a completely ineffective manner of adjudicating his players in their so quote unquote drug policy. They're suspending players 50 games at a pop, and it's got no teeth in it. Then you got Roger Goodell, who just finds people at a whim without any rhyme or reason. Now they got Nottingham Sue. He's under investigation again for injuring somebody and taunting him. And it's like, well, what does this guy? I know what he needs to do. If they ever want to fine him or suspend him, is put number 92 on it and make sure the jersey's black and gold. That's the only person who seems to get suspended for behavior like that. This guy kicks people in the nuts, stomps on offensive linemen, knocks people unconscious, and
and laughs at them.
And he does Subway commercials.
And
Eat fresh.
Yeah, eat fresh. And should have won the 2009 Heisman Trophy, too.
That's it. If they had given him that, he wouldn't be in such a
That's
bad
right.
mood these
That's
days.
right.
It's all payback now. Sue's a criminal. I mean, that's all there is to it. They need to get him either a lobotomy, some shock treatment, something like that. But when they stop him from doing that stuff, he will become a much less effective player, and he'll be out of a job in 2 years.
Well, I mean, he's such an effective player now that let's not forget the Detroit Lions are 4-8.
Wow.
They had their 10 minutes of fame last year.
That'll make you want to drop kick somebody.
Every game.
I don't know if any of you guys saw the Indiana-North Carolina basketball game, the ACC Big Ten matchup. Indiana University, North Carolina, two pretty big name schools with great histories, played even till it was about 23-23. And then the Indiana Hoosiers decided to get off the bus and come into the stadium and play. And they destroyed North Carolina, beat them by 30 points. One of the best beatings that North Carolina has ever absorbed. I believe, once again, that Indiana will dominate the field, maybe go undefeated all year. Definitely win the national championship.
That's going to be my next question. Are they going to repeat what the 76 Indiana Hoosiers did? That was the year they went 33-0 and won it all.
The only thing Indiana has missing this year, there may not be any chairs thrown into the court, but they, I believe they will go the whole way.
I love Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight, greatest basketball coach in history.
The general.
John Wooden might be great, Dean Smith, whatever. But Bobby Knight, greatest basketball coach ever. Pros, basketball, high school, and right down the street, whatever.
One of his prime students, Mike Krzyzewski at Duke.
Yeah.
He was on his Knight staff and when he coached at Army or something like that back in the early 60s before he started coaching in Indiana. And the way they ran him out of Indiana, that was another farce.
Well, he used to play for Bobby Knight, too, at the Army. But did you guys see, not to change the subject, I know we got a few seconds, but did you see that Mike Tomlin dissed Harbaugh?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
You know why it was? Because of the last game.
Harbaugh.
You know what? Once again, like I've always said, nothing worse than a reporter with nothing to report. And these guys did nothing but talk about this all day long. There hasn't been another subject on Pittsburgh sports all day. Forget the fact that the Steelers won the game. They want to talk about Tomlin didn't look at Harbaugh when he shook his hand. Well, he shook his hand. What more does he want? If he kissed him in the middle of the field,
He didn't give him the brother handshake. He didn't give him the brother handshake.
He gave him a dead fish. Here's what he gave him. Look, here, shake that hand. Here's what he gave him.
Here's what the problem
That's what he
was.
gave him, and Harbaugh didn't like the fish.
Here's what the problem was.
That's what
Harbaugh
happened.
said something to Tomlin after the game and shook his hand, and Tomlin spoke to Harbaugh the way he does to the reporters at his weekly press conference.
Oh, he sure did.
And Harbaugh took exception with it and repeated himself. Have you ever listened to the way Mike Tomlin talks to the reporters on his press conference? He hates them.
He should hate them. They're bums. There is a decent sports writer in this city that's not sitting at this table. That's a fact.
Well, it goes back to the other Baltimore game. Harbaugh was talking about what a tough win it was and how the players were tougher than the Steelers, and that's what he took offense to. It's all the gamesmanship that Harbaugh plays. He tried to get in his head, and guess what? Harbaugh won.
Well, Anquan Bolden was asked after the game, what he felt about, losing to the Steelers. Did the Steelers beat you? And of course, he said, no, the Steelers didn't beat us. We beat ourselves, But that's about what you could expect out of Anquan Bolden.
What Antoine Bolden should have said, there's only one Steelers quarterback that has the skill set to beat us, and it's Charlie Batch.
What he should say is, when the greatest football player of all time, Ray Lewis, come back, they won't get beat by the Steelers.
Hey, hold on a second. Did you see the stats since Ray Lewis is gone?
All I know is they lost yesterday, and Ray Lewis comes back in 2 weeks, and he'll turn all that around.
Well, the stats have been much better for the Baltimore D, like they don't need
the
Ray.
Baltimore D took a little blow last night because I understand Terrell Suggs has a torn bicep muscle.
No, does he?
Did you see that
they
tackle?
said that they said that like if you tear your tricep, you would not be able to play. He tore his bicep. They said he'll probably be able to play, but he won't be able to do anything where he tries to pull his arm in. But I don't know. I haven't heard any reports other than that he's got the torn bicep, and I don't know what his status is going to be for this week.
Oh, Jim, your good friend Ike Taylor had his feelings hurt last night, too.
Yeah, he had an ankle injury, and if anybody ever looked at Terrell Suggs, that's a child only a mother can love.
3 to 6 weeks for Ike. Doesn't look like he might not even make
3
it back.
to 6. Whoa,
Yeah.
we're out of it.
We haven't.
That means he don't play
This
till
is
next
what
year.
reporters are reporting, but nobody knows. Nobody knows what the results of the tests are. We'll find out tomorrow because Mike Tomlin likes to share all that information with the Pittsburgh sports media. And if you ever want some entertainment, turn the fan on at about noon on a Tuesday. Tomlin can give you about 10 minutes of sound bites that'll just make you chuckle. The way he abuses the reporters. I think it's funny.
Well, I got a trivia question for everybody next week. Has a brother ever hurt his calf? Brother's got some small calves, man. They ever hurt one? I've never heard of a calf injury. Have you?
I got another trivia question. When's there going to be a white safety?
Cornerback.
Cornerback. All right.
I'm going to do a reality
That's a question
show.
I want to.
I think it's reverse discrimination. There's not a white cornerback anywhere in the National Football League, not even on the practice squad. So I'm going around the country. I'm going to find a white cornerback. Get him into the NFL.
Don't they play in college?
Show.
Don't they play in college?
Call your man Mark Cuban and put some money behind
We'll
him.
go to Shark Tank.
And
Let's go to Shark
It's going to be
Tank.
called the next great white cornerback.
That's right. That's right.
It'll be on Shark Week.
How in the world can the NFL not have a white guy playing corner nowhere? Nowhere. Hasn't been one since Jack Butler and Dick LeBeau.
Hall of Famers.
Hall of Famers. I think it's reverse discrimination, and I won't stand for it.
Okay, Jim.
All right, Jim, I'm with you on that.
Hey, Jim, I'm with you, too.
I'm on the bandwagon, buddy.
Where's it at? Where's this bandwagon at?
Well, you know what? Thanks again for watching us tonight. Thanks for coming down to the Level 20 Lounge. We will be here in 2 weeks on December 17th. Make sure you get on down, take a look, and while you're at it, before then, between now and then, 2 weeks you have to find a white cornerback. Come on down, let us know who it is.